Story. It's day 2 in the urgent search for a missing U.S. airman after an American fighter jet was downed by Iran.
Meanwhile, at least 4 people are hurt after the regime fired missiles into central Israel.
Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt joining us from Tel Aviv with the very latest. Jonathan.
And let's get straight to the breaking news that has been breaking over the last few minutes. Another alert here, another strike. And as you look into the distance over central Israel there, you can see that thick plume of smoke from an impact scene. Now, from our experience, that is not one of those smaller cluster munitions, a bomblet from those. That looks to us like that may have been a direct missile strike, which would be one of the first we've seen in this area for quite some time. You can tell just by the thickness of the smoke there that that is much more than one of the bomblets from a cluster munition. Now, we've been under attack here in central Israel for several hours this morning. This is the second or third alert that we've had. We're waiting now. We usually get word pretty quickly on the number of injuries or casualties of any sort in a strike like this, so we are awaiting word on that right now. The earlier one that you mentioned, the 4 people who were injured, those were very light injuries, but as you can see, this is a pretty serious strike out there on our horizon. Central Israel is the only location we can give you because of the censorship rules here, but you can see that smoke just keeps billowing. That does speak to the fact that this was a significant strike. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, the other top story of the day here in this war, obviously, is the ongoing and increasingly urgent search for that F-15E crew member. The F-15E went down in southwestern Iran. The Iranian state TV were very quick to show pictures of some of the wreckage, pictures of one of the ejector seats. We believe that that ejector seat was the one used by the pilot who was then rescued, although the rescue operation itself, very difficult indeed. A couple of the helicopters involved in it were hit by small arms fire, as we understand it, from the ground. Some crew members were injured, as we understand it, from Central Command, but those helicopters did land safely with that rescued pilot on board. The weapons systems officer, though, the second of 2 people on board, is still missing. The U.S. desperately searching for that person. Iranian military, obviously, desperately searching for that person because they would like the propaganda coup, obviously, of finding him first and being able to parade him on Iranian state TV. We also understand that an A-10 Warthog, around the same time that the rescue operation was underway, went down as well, went down in the Strait of Hormuz. The pilot from that was successfully rescued by U.S. forces. All this going on as the U.S. and Israel continue to bombard targets in Iran. The Bushehr nuclear facility, a strike near there today. That is, I think, the 4th time that that facility has been targeted. We understand that a security guard was killed in that. And meantime, once again, we'll give you a final look at the smoke, which is beginning to dissipate somewhat, but is still thick enough to really make us think that that may have been a direct missile hit here in central Israel. We'll keep you updated, guys, on any casualty figures we got from that, but another extremely active day here in this war. Back to you guys.
Indeed, Jonathan. And if your cameraman actually could put us back on that billowing black smoke again, I have a question for you here, because as I am well familiar with the rules in Israel about not locating it, we can see that that smoke is obviously central Tel Aviv there, and it seems to be kind of a reminder there. There is the billowing smoke, a reminder that Iran is still capable. They have the capability to still launch missiles and things that are more advanced than like the cluster munitions and drone attacks. This is what would appear to be something more sophisticated. So Iran hasn't lost all of their capabilities to strike.
Certainly not. And the Iranians have been quick to point out that they have plenty of missiles left. They've been quick to use them. They are using them on a daily basis, not just aimed at Israel, of course, but also aimed at their Gulf neighbors. So the missiles keep coming. And while the U.S. is clearly having great success in diminishing the Iranian military power, it is not yet non-existent, that power, and it will be very hard, frankly, in the minds of pretty much every military analyst you talk to for the U.S. and Israel to render Iran's military power non-existent. These missiles can be hidden underground with relative ease. They can be rolled out on mobile launchers and then fired. And then as you continue to look at that billowing smoke, that can be the result of them, what appears to be a direct hit. Again, we're only saying that is central Israel because of the censorship rules here, but that, as you can look at that yourself, decide what kind of urban area it is, and you can see the potential effect. We don't know the casualties yet. We don't know the damage, obviously, but we will get those the word information on that as soon as we can, and we'll bring it to you. But yeah, another example this morning that Iran remains entirely capable of inflicting damage on Israel and its Gulf neighbors. Back to you guys.
Jonathan, while we have you, just a quick question and maybe a bit of a clarification. When attacks like this happen, I assume you all were warned. You get some sort of a warning on your telephones before there's incoming. Did you happen to notice or hear or see any attempt to interdict this incoming missile?
So what happens with these, Kevin, it's a really good question, is we get the first alert. That is an alert that was sent to our phones saying that the missiles have been launched from Iran. We may be in the path of those missiles. About 5 minutes after that, that's when you get the sirens. That's when the Israeli Defense Forces have narrowed it down and said, you are in the potential path of this incoming missile. So then that's when we all, obviously, we put on the body armor that you see me wearing now, etc. And then we were looking up. We saw pretty much directly above us, I would say, what appeared to be an interception. We then heard the whistle of something dropping, which is a sure sign that you need to get out the way. That is when, if anybody there was monitoring our cameras just before we went on air with you, we had to take cover inside. We then came out once that danger had passed, and that's when we saw the impact in the distance there. So the interceptors, yes, to answer your question, Kevin, the interceptors are still in use, but they are not 100% effective, as you can clearly see as you watch that billowing smoke on the skyline right now, Kevin.
Jonathan Hunt, thank you so much for that report.
Stay safe,
yes,
buddy.
absolutely. Stay safe. So let's just start with a little bit of good news here. The good news is we have one pilot who has been rescued. The other part of that good news is I don't think we have, we have a president right now who, more than any other president in our lifetime, has done more to rescue Americans.
No doubt.
It's sort of a marker of his presidency, the number of hostages he has rescued. We also know his love for this military.
Yeah.
And so I have no doubt that every effort is being made to find this pilot as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And the same goes for Pete Hegseth. There's no way Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, is leaving any soldier on the battlefield. So I believe everything is being done right now to find him. Because they love our military and they don't want to do that. But also, there would be, as Jonathan mentioned, there is a race right now between the United States government and military and the Iranian military to find this person. Kevin, there would be huge political implications if the Iranians get to this poor fellow first.
No question about it. And let's be clear, if you've been watching politics in Washington for any time at all, especially over the last, say, 10, 12 years, you know that Democrats in general, not all, but in general in Washington would love to use any perceived or real failure on the part of this particular action or any action taken by President Trump and attempt to utilize that as a political cudgel, perhaps in the midterms, which, of course, are coming up this fall. But one would hope that the majority of them would step back and say, in this circumstance, we're all talking about Americans here, although even in this particular moment, I've seen some Democrats say some of the most damnable things that I think I've ever heard about war crimes and about this action. We're talking about real Americans here. We're talking about military women and men who are trying to do something to make it safer for all of us. And so when I see what plays out politically sometimes in Washington, it just makes you shake your head and you think, how could you possibly say and or think that?
No, and we had protesters here in New York City in Times Square openly rooting for Iran and rooting against the U.S. Yeah. To your point, listen, as someone who's had the honor of covering wars and going there, when an American goes down, it is top priority. And I think we saw the president and Secretary Hexeth's commitment, Rachel, yesterday by what we didn't see. We didn't see the president publicly. He was in the Oval Office. He was in the Situation Room. Secretary Hexeth was there for a long time because they are laser focused on whether or not this pilot is alive or dead. There will be 100% commitment to getting him home. That is now the top priority in Iran. And it has been more than 24 hours he went down. But yet at the same time, as we heard from General Teichert, it may be to our advantage the fact that this pilot was able to hide somewhere with his SEER training. And our teams, the CSAR teams, are the best of the best. I am holding out hope and optimism they're going to get him, and there is no doubt the president's commitment to do everything in our power.
Yeah, so many people praying at this moment for his rescue.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.